this is Elizabeth from Gabriel Family Adventures, and today I'm going to share a review with you all of LATAM Airlines. And we ended up in the business class seats of LATAM Airlines through a booking that we did, a round trip booking that flew us on American Airlines business class from Miami to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And then we ended up flying to Sao Paulo, and from Sao Paulo, Brazil, back to Miami, we flew on LATAM. And we didn't know we were flying on LATAM, but we just found out via our ticket, once everything was booked, that it was through a sister airline. And so we weren't quite sure what to expect. I had never flown on this airline before, and so upon a little digging, LATAM is actually a Chilean airline. It is the largest airline in Latin America. They fly all over the place, and so I'm guessing I'll be flying on LATAM a lot in the future because I love Latin America and we had a very positive experience in business class. So I'm going to share with you the things that we liked, some things we learned, and then a few things that could maybe use some improvement. So here we go. Okay. So first thing, we booked the seats. There were 4 of us traveling, and we booked it all together as part of one reservation, and yet 3 of our seats were together and 1 seat was several rows away. So we asked if they could switch that to put us together. They said absolutely not, even though we were at the airport over 2 hours early. So that was a little frustrating. And after we went through that, they do have an airport lounge, and in the Sao Paulo airport, the LATAM airport lounge has all the good stuff. It has showers and very large bathrooms. We were there mid-morning, so it was breakfast fare, and they had pretty much anything you could want for breakfast, drinks. They had a coffee machine where you could make espressos and things like that. They did have beers if you wanted some. So anything you could possibly want to eat, it was pretty much there. They also had a kids zone section, so if you're traveling with children, there's a place for them to play video games and stuff like that. That's a little closed off for, all of the other travelers. So when you get on the airplane, it's a 773, and the business class is set up where there's 2 seats by the window and they're next to each other. So unlike some other airlines like British Airways, for example, where one's going this way and one's going this way, you're sitting forward the whole time. So it goes 2, and then there's a set of 3, and then there's another set of 2. So the 3 of us whose seats were together were in the middle section, the set of 3, and then the other seat was way ahead somewhere. And so my friend who was assigned that seat, she actually talked to the gentleman who was sitting next to us, and he happily traded because he was flying alone. There were a lot of people flying alone, so it kind of surprises me that they couldn't put all 4 of our seats together when we were on a group reservation, and so that was a little disappointing. But the seats themselves, they recline fully so you can get the full bed, and they actually have a little mat that you can put over the seat before you lie down. And just a little word of caution, you want to make sure that you put it up high over the back headrest, because there's Velcro on the back headrest, and if the mat slides down, your hair is going to get caught in the Velcro. It happened to me a few times. I move around a lot, so it was probably my own fault, but just something to think about. And then you get your cute little bag of amenities, and there's, lotion and lip balm and socks and eye mask, all the good stuff. It was a cute little bag. I definitely feel like the American Airlines business class it had a lot of nicer stuff, and the bag itself was nicer, but it was great. It's always nice to have kind of those little perks. And you've got your standard television where there's tons of movies and TV options and games to choose from. So if you are someone who has a hard time falling asleep on a flight, there's stuff to do. It was a daytime flight, and so I wanted to stay awake for most of it, and that's not usually my style, but when we got home, I wanted to make sure to be able to fall asleep once we got home. So I made it a point to try to stay awake the whole flight. And so I ended up watching 3 movies. But while we were flying, something that was a little kind of frustrating is that our flight took off mid-morning. And so we were given a nice little meal. You could choose a variety of beverages with your meal, your kind of lunchtime fare. And I ordered red wine. It was really good. And then they turned off all the lights and a lot of people fell asleep. And that's fine. But for those of us who were still awake, the service options and the flight attendants didn't really come around for about 5 hours. So if you got up and went over to where the flight attendants are and where all the drinks and food and stuff is, you can ask for a water or more wine or whatever you're drinking, but they didn't come around at all. And I was a little surprised. I know nighttime flights, that is a very regular occurrence and it's totally okay. But because it was a daytime flight, there were a lot of people who were awake, but the lights were all off. And so I did not really enjoy that aspect of the flight, that I felt like I had to kind of get up and I had to ask them to take away my empty cups that were just sitting there for several hours. And just kind of those little touches that if I was in coach, I wouldn't care. And we flew coach from Miami to Denver and it was fine. We didn't really get any service, but when you're paying for business class, you're kind of just expecting a little bit better service. Now, when it comes to the food options, so we got our lunch. It was really good. Airplane food isn't ever going to be, 5-star, but in particular, I got this kind of little pudding cup thing at the end and it was delicious. It might be the best dessert I've ever had on an airplane. So kudos to LATAM for that. And then before we landed, we got kind of a mid-evening sort of snack option, kind of pastry, a savory pastry dish, and it was good. And I felt like the food choices were plentiful and varied, and so you could, you had a lot of options depending on your diet and things like that. So overall, would I recommend LATAM Airlines for business class? I really liked it. I was very impressed with their lounge. I liked the food. The only thing I would say, I felt like the seats were very spacious. I was really comfortable. I think I would have had a great night's sleep, and my husband did have a great nap on those seats. So I did really like it. I just wish the service was a little more prompt for a daytime flight. I wish they would have come around more. But, I did get up and get what I wanted and it was fine. So overall, it was a very positive experience. And looking into LATAM for the future, it seems a little bit, kind of a little higher end than, say, Copa Airlines, which flies out of Panama City through most of Latin America. I think it's definitely a step above Copa, maybe a step down from the American Airlines business class that we flew out to Rio, which was a newer plane and probably the nicest business class I've ever seen in my life. So you'll be getting that review in the future. But overall, it was great. So don't be hesitant if you've never heard of LATAM Airlines before. Don't worry. It's a great airline. You'll be fine. You'll be safe. You'll be well fed. So if you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to put those put those below, and subscribe to this channel for more travel reviews in the future. Thank you.